All right, question from our guy, Reed Phillips. Any suggestions on hedging opportunity for tonight's championship? I have a 10-1 ticket on Florida. Reed, if you got a 10-1 ticket, man, I would honestly just think about taking some Houston money line. You're in a great spot, especially if you got a 10-1 ticket. You always could run the, risk of waiting live in game since you have a Florida future. You hope that maybe they get off to a nice start. You can get Houston plus 5.5, plus 6.5, somewhere like that. If I was in your spot though, and I had a Florida 10-1 future, especially because we're about to talk about the game. But if you do like Houston tonight, I would think about hedging with Houston against Florida. Great buy, though, on Florida at 10-1. But I would hedge if you want to risk it. You could certainly wait, see if Florida gets the lead, and then you can hedge with some Houston plus 4.5, 5.5, whatever it may be, live in game. All right, let's break down the Natty tonight in San Antonio. So Florida's a 1.5 point favorite over Houston. The Gators minus 115 on the money line. Houston minus 105. The total is 140.5. Going to be honest with you guys, I think the wrong team's favored in the game, and I'm kind of surprised that Houston is an underdog, especially after beating Duke. And the fact that they're going to have more of a home court advantage tonight with the game being in their home state in San Antonio. Probably going to be like a 70-30 type crowd tonight with Houston fans. Here's the key to the game, though, for me. I think Auburn ran out of gas in the second half, right? Janai Broome was cooking in the first half. Auburn put up over 40 points. Their offense was looking really good. But Florida has so much depth. They have like 9 starters, 10 starters on their team. And obviously with the injuries that Broome suffered in the Michigan State Elite Eight game, he just ran out of gas in the second half, and they didn't have enough. Houston is probably the most well-conditioned team in all of college basketball. So Florida is not going to be able to wear them down. They're not going to be able to use their depth like they have to just about every other team to help them win games down the stretch. And obviously they have the best closer in the country in Walter Clayton Jr., bringing them to the finish line. So I think that's a real advantage for Houston tonight. That, to me, was the biggest eye-opener in that second half. Auburn just ran out of gas, especially Broome. Not going to happen with Houston. So well-conditioned. That team obviously is battle-tested. And look, because they play at one of the slowest paces in the country, they're no stranger to close games and finding ways to pull out games in the last minute or so. I like Houston in the game tonight. I understand if you're scared to bet against Florida because of Walter Clayton, and he's just that good. And like I said, I think he's the most clutch college player we've seen, certainly putting together an epic run since maybe Kemba Walker. My handicap in the Florida-Auburn game was I liked Florida because I thought it would be a close game, and I just thought Walter Clayton would bring them to the finish line. So if you want to use that same strategy tonight, expecting it to be a close game, and Clayton to just bring it home for the Gators, I see that logic too. Another great game to bet live. We talked about that with Florida-Auburn, right? Florida was plus 5.5 at halftime. They come back, win the game outright. We talked about how there would be a big second half run in that game. You obviously saw the second half run that Houston made against Duke. So there will be some runs in the second half of this game. I think live betting is another great way to go about the national championship game tonight as well. So I do like that. Some player props that I like in tonight's game. Walter Clayton over 3.5 assists against Houston. Isaac talked about it. Houston loves to blitz on defense. So what that means is that when Florida sets a screen on offense, especially when Walter Clayton is trying to come off the screen, Houston's going to double team him. They're going to force him to get the ball out of his hands. And Houston likes doubling in the post as well, as we know. So there's going to be a lot of chaos going on when Florida has the ball. And I really think Kelvin Sampson is going to make it a point tonight to let anybody else but Clayton beat them offensively. So I think he's going to have to be more of a facilitator tonight. He might try and force his shot a little bit because Houston's defense is so good, and he's not going to get probably as many clean looks as he does in just about every other game. So over 3.5 assists, I like that for Walter Clayton. I also like Thomas Hawk for Florida over 1.5 3-pointers, 2 or more 3-pointers at plus 240. If you watch the Auburn game, especially in that second half when Clayton was starting to cook, Auburn was blitzing him on defense. There was ball screens, and they were forcing Clayton to get the ball out of his hands. When he would do that, Thomas Hawk was at the top of the key for wide open 3-pointers. He's attempted 4 3-pointers in each of his last 3 games. He's hit 4 against Texas Tech. So if he hits that first one, then he's probably going to continue to shoot. I like the value at plus 240. And again, I think he's going to get good looks because Houston is going to force the ball out of Clayton's hand, and Hawks should have some good looks at 3. And then some Houston props that I like in this game. LJ Cryer, over 17.5 points. He played the entire game against Duke, all 40 minutes. I expect him to play all 40 minutes tonight. He's going to average about somewhere between 15 to 17 shot attempts, so the volume is going to be there, and Cryer is their guy. If Houston's going to win tonight, I don't think they can win if he has a bad game. So I'll take Cryer over points. And probably my favorite prop is going to be Juwan Roberts over 11.5 points tonight for Houston. Think about the bigs that Florida have played against and think about the games that they have had. Derek Queen had 27 against Florida. Darion Williams for Texas Tech had 23. Janai Broome was cooking in the first half for Auburn before he ran out of gas in the second half. Florida does not double in the post. They believe instead of doubling and giving up 3-pointers to just let their bigs play one-on-one defense and give up the 2-pointers. Because Houston plays at a slow pace, because they like executing in the half court, they're going to dump the ball down to Roberts and let him try and go one-on-one. I like over 11.5 points tonight for Juwan Roberts. That's my favorite prop in the title game.